You may have heard the term forecasting in the business world, but what does that really mean? Why is forecasting so important to growing your creative agency, and how is it leveraged in operations management? Do you have a clear forecasting plan to help you reach your objectives? Schedule the appropriate activities to be delivered while maintaining quality standards. Do you have a revenue roadmap that can help you anticipate the expectations in your market? If you don't, then you're not alone. Many agency owners who have experienced accidental success or growth and who haven't done the deep analysis to understand their success are afraid to utilize forecasting to grow their operations. So today I'm going to share with you the essential approach to operations management forecasting for your creative agency so you can establish a blueprint to build a business that runs itself with or without you. So you'll want to keep watching. Hey CEOs, welcome back. If you're brand new here, I'm Theresa, Operations Coachsultant behind LoopLink, and I'm here to help you complete the loop in your business operations and expanding your agency with excellence. One of the ways I help you do that is by helping you shift from a CEO-dependent to a systems-dependent operations by leveraging your systems and processes. If you stay with me, you'll learn the blueprints on how to sustain the shift with ease so that you can transition the various hats you're holding to trusted team members, confidently grow your CEO mindset, and fall back in love with what you do and why you started your business in the first place. So you'll want to make sure that you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification button so that you know when new videos drop. A step towards creating a systems-dependent operations involves practicing forecasting in your business. When it's used effectively, you can forecast your operations management for your creative agency. Over the years, I've worked with clients and 98% of them have no idea how they're going to reach their financial goals. They don't even know how to anticipate their sales volume, and more than not, they're pulling numbers out of their minds. This creates a lot of uncertainty and throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And this is also a common journey amongst accidental agencies, where they feel like their success is more accidental than methodical. But first, what exactly is forecasting? Forecasting is the technique that uses historical data as the inputs to make informed predictions and estimates to determine the direction of the future trends, how to allocate budgets, plan for expenses, and improve the possibility to anticipate the demands of the proposed products or services. So forecasting isn't just only about predicting how much money we can make, but also aim to evaluate how much money can we save. Forecasting can be generated daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. And so it really depends on how comprehensive your business is and what the deep needs are. If you're an inventory-based business with a large scope for production and manufacturing, forecasting will likely be super crucial to your day-to-day operations. There's a definite strategic importance to forecasting because it allows you to initiate, evaluate, and pivot at the most crucial points of your growth journey as you continue to build and scale your business. It allows you to build the appropriate blueprints so that you can anticipate what are the next steps you should be taking. Not only that, but it minimizes the excess of inventory or staffing and minimizes missed opportunities for sales. We understand the nature of forecasting and why it exists, but the bigger question is, why should you care about forecasting? Ultimately, it's about anticipating the needs and the demands of your customers so that you can provide a level of service and customer excellence. As your creative agency is growing, there are 3 different areas within operations that you'll want to leverage forecasting to determine. Service management. Do you have established supplier or contractor partnerships to empower innovation, effectiveness, and speed? Team management. Hiring, onboarding, offboarding, and training of team members. And then capacity management. How much can you handle in a given period of time that doesn't impact your quality control, dependable deliveries, and fulfillment to customer excellence? If forecasting is a crucial element to running a smooth operation, why don't more creative agencies apply it to their business? It's because forecasting are rarely perfect and it's always a moving target. Have you ever experienced a time where you heard the weather anchor person mentioned that it's going to be sunshine all afternoon, and yet you had a flash downpour in the middle of it? What was your reaction? You may have thought, boy, did they ever get this wrong? How did they miss this cumulonimbus cloud? The reality is that when it comes to forecasting, it is heavily impacted by unpredictable factors that are outside of our control. In 2014, in my corporate career, we experienced a massive year of growth, and things were projected to scale beyond what we made the year before. In 2015, as I was working on the operations forecast, I found that the market had indications of a downturn in the economy, aka a recession was looming in the horizon, and I prepared the forecast for this turn of events. You need to be able to also anticipate the market's reaction. So let's review and cover the various methods and strategies for approaching forecasting. There are two main methods that you can leverage when it comes to forecasting approaches. So the first approach is that when little data exists, particularly if there's a new product or technology that was newly created and it may require intuition or experience, especially in our digital era, new tools and technology are released every single day that could greatly improve or enhance your workflow. And so when new tools are released, there may not be enough data that exists for it yet. And so when you have these limitations, you'll want to gather opinions or perspective from experts in those fields or those who have experience in the areas that you're exploring or evaluating. To gather enough data for forecasting, here are a few of the methods you'll want to gather, especially if you are looking to create a new service or anticipate demands. The first thing you'll want to do is ask your customers. We'll likely be able to achieve this through a market survey to understand what are their needs, pain points, and what they're looking for. How would their ideal solution look like? And then what you're forecasting or building, will it meet their needs? The second method is to ask your team. This is where we'll review with the team what their estimations for sales are or success metrics to be reviewed and analyzed. Both of these approaches will allow you to aggregate and combine the data. Now, the second method is when historical data exists. So for either existing products, services, or current technology, and it usually involves mathematical techniques. Because you have existing data, you would be reviewing different components of the data to aggregate your forecasting. So we would be leveraging the following approaches. The simple approach. This is where we use the assumptions that the demand in the next period is the same as the most recent period. So it could look like the same expected level of sales between 2 months. You can also apply basic trends to deem if there could be a slight increase or decrease month over month. And then there's the smoothing approach. This is where we calculate the new forecast by taking the period's forecast and adding it to the delta of the last period's actual demand and deduct the previous period's actual demand. So no matter which approach you use, there will be a few components that you'll want to be cognizant of. And they include the trends, where you'll see the consistent upward or downward pattern that can be affected by variables such as demographics, culture, technology, location, etc. With seasonal components, it could be a regular pattern of up or down variations that is affected by weather, traditions, celebrations, and expected occurrences. And then the third component would be the cyclical component, which will typically be seen more in business cycles, often known as the boom and bust cycle or the feast and famine cycle. This component can be affected by economic factors, political influences, and etc. All right, so let's talk about how to leverage forecasting in service management. Do you have the right partners to help you increase innovation and streamline your services? If you leverage other service providers, particularly if there's a specialized skill set or expertise that your team does not specifically have to fulfill work to your clients, you're going to want to make sure that they're not at capacity or that they have room to handle more work. A great example of this is that if you are a marketing firm and you're outsourcing copywriting or graphic designing to another freelancer or contractor agency. If you are providing ongoing high-touch maintenance service, be extremely in the know of your supplier's capacity. To maintain quality, you'll want to limit between 8 to 10 clients or projects per supplier. This is to ensure that they have enough time and dedication to each project with care. By knowing the threshold, parameters, and criterias, this will contribute to your business operations forecast on when to start looking for other suppliers to partner with so that you can continue to deliver customer fulfillment with ease. In this example, if you're forecasting an uptick in sales because you are planning for a massive launch, whether it's for a digital product or a service, or in order to meet the demands of the customers, you're going to want to make sure that they have the right service support that aligns with the increase in sales. If you're aiming for a $10,000 sales and you know that your cost is going to be about 40%, now if you know your supplier can only handle $5,000 worth of work, then you'll want to start planning to onboard another supplier to support the service. Now, if you don't have enough suppliers to support the service, this is where you will see a rise of backlogs and you'll be fighting fires to try and get caught up and then stay ahead. If you stay committed to the forecast, you'll master the planning game. As a solo CEO, how many hats are you wearing in your business today? How many hats do you want to wear tomorrow? So if you have a team, do you have enough team members to carry that workload together? If you're anticipating to grow your team this year, it's not just about knowing that you have cash in the bank to make that happen, but forecasting when you're going to see that increased expense. When you plan for it, you'll know what you're going to need in revenue to offset the cost. All right, so what is the main difference between a team member and a supplier? A supplier is someone who works literally in the back end of your office, with one communication line to you and your business and not to the end user who is your client. They typically contribute to the COGS or the cost of goods, whereas a team member is someone, whether employee or contractor, who is working in your business to provide day-to-day support and maybe customer facing. These roles typically can include the customer success manager, virtual assistant, operations manager, etc. If you're taking on interns or apprentices or temporary hires to support clearing up backlogs or getting ahead, you can forecast to get the backfills or scale up. So let's say you have a team member who is going to be going back to school or going on maternity leave. You're going to want to forecast to hire another person to build continuity into your business. You're going to want to add that to your forecast starting 2 or 3 months before the departure of the team member. Now, why would you want to do that? Because you'll want to hire before they leave so that there's a period of knowledge transfer and support to get the new hire up and running with efficiency. The last component, which is capacity management, is the other side to all of this. We want to evaluate how much work can we handle and the capacity to meet the demands of the customers. If you signed on a high-ticket customer and then promised them XYZ within the first 30 days, but your teams or suppliers cannot deliver within that timeline, it'll result in undependable delivery and fulfillment, unhappy customers, or even worse, loss of customers and damaging your relationships. While it's a wonderful feeling and awesome surprise if you made an extra $10,000 that month on top of what was forecasted, it may not necessarily be a good thing. That could be an indication that the demand is higher than the capacity because now you're going to run into this issue. Did you forecast the delivery fulfillment? If you need one team member to support 3 clients and suddenly you have 9 clients but still just 1 team member, you're going to run into a lot of trouble. Also, not every team member is equally the same. Person A can have a much higher bandwidth and handle 10 clients or projects at a time than person B, who can only handle at most 6 clients or projects at a time. There are many variables that plays into forecasting capacity, and this in turn also goes hand in hand with service management in establishing good supplier relationships who you can lean on. If you're planning to decommission a service or pivot, you're going to need to plan for the shrinking of the capacity or adjustments as needed. This brings us to best practices for forecasting in operations management. The biggest best practice is to get the forecast as accurate as possible. A good forecast is when you are within 5 to 10% margin, which means you can be over or under, but within 5 to 10% of that forecast. Anything beyond that, you'll need to dive into why the mark was missed. When I was managing forecasting in corporate, we had a month where we were over our forecast by a good 20% increase. We were all so excited because we thought, man, we were profitable this month and we made a lot of money and all is well. But the one greatest thing I learned from my general manager at that time is that no matter if you're over or under, you have to provide an explanation of why that happened and also as well understanding what drove that result. I painstakingly went through that exercise and evaluate and determined where we missed the mark. It turned out that some of the increases happened because of a client who we thought weren't going to go with our proposal at that time came back and decided to jump on board. We had missed accounting for that probability of that contract. The lesson learned? As difficult as it is, Pay attention to your numbers because it matters. Forecasting works best when it is driven by data. It is very easy for us to be able to say, I see this happen a lot, so we should plan for X. Even if you don't have historical data for yourself, look into your network, industry, and community to see if you can validate that assumption. Now you know the power of forecasting for operations management. The best way to capture all of this is into your cash flow forecast. If you don't have a cash flow forecast, I'll add a link to my forecast planner below this video. Have you created your forecast for this year yet? Leave your feedback and questions in the comments section below this video. If this video was helpful, be sure to subscribe, share with your friend, and hit the like button so I know to make more videos like this. I'm Theresa, Operations Coachsultant, and I'll see you in the next one.